keeping God's command, keeping God's command. Midweek meditation, meditation, meditation. Midweek meditation, meditation, meditation.
Hey, shalom, shalom, everybody. I pray you guys are doing well. I pray that the week has not been too burdensome for you, but just understand that Midweek Meditations is here to give you that spiritual recharge to help get you through the rest of the week. The Sabbath can't come soon enough, but it's not here yet, so you got to deal with what you got, and today is Midweek Meditations. So all praises to the Most High for that. Now, I pray that no one's having any trouble hearing me. Nobody's having any trouble seeing me. You know, we try to do our best to make sure that we get our testing in advance, make sure we have no trouble. But, you know, as with technology, you know, you get what you pay for. So, you know, we're working on a shoestring budget, and we're delivering the message as best we can without making excuses. So all praises to the Most High God for those who have helped me put this message out to you. You know, help with the website, help with the social media, help with the icons, the digital art that comes along with it. Help come up with topics to even speak about. Thank you once again for all of you who put in that effort. And special thanks to you who have shared the video, who have shared the past videos. Your sharing goes a long way because it helps get this message spread across to the four corners of this earth. It helps it get out into the highways, the information highways, if you will, because there's so many people on social media and whatnot that could use an opportunity to hear a message that is not local to them because they live so far away or whatever situations that they're in. So all praises to the Most High God. We always got to give all praises to the Most High God for that. Now, I want to give y'all a few moments to hit that share button. I'm doing it right now, inviting more of the people that I know into the meditation for today. I'm hitting the share button on Periscope. I'm hitting the share button on YouTube, Facebook. You know, I'm hitting the share button because I just want to make sure that I give people opportunity to see. You know, if they want to see, hear, if they want to hear, and if they don't, they don't. But you don't want to be the one that didn't give anyone the opportunity. So all praises to the Most High God for that. You know, shout out to the brother Ezekiel who made the Midweek Meditations t-shirt. It's a good look. I really appreciate you, brother. And I hope that, you know, some of you guys have supported him in his business as I have given the information about his business in previous meditations. But what we're here to talk about today is why did I get married? We're going to continue on that. As we brought up an oldie but goodie last week, we talked about why did I get married, and we examined some things that each of us should really examine, whether we're married or single, because it will help us if we're single on making the decision to get married, and it help us if we're married on how we preserve and maintain the relationship so that we live according to what God wants us, how God wants us to live. So we went into that, and I pray that you all got something out of it. I pray that you got something out of the reasons why you should biblically get married, not just from a worldly perspective, you know, because a lot of people are getting married for the wrong reasons, but for righteous reasons. That's what we were hoping to make sure that we thought about. So let's give the Most High God another all praises, another thank you, another round of applause, if you will, for giving us the grace and the mercy to make it through our situations in which we may be in a relationship, in a marriage, may have been divorced, whatever your situation may be, that you have the grace that has been bestowed upon you, the mercy that's been bestowed upon you, and an opportunity to get some things right and to fix them in your life. So all praises to the Most High God for that. Now, as I said, we're going to talk about why did I get married and extend that and go into the troubles of the flesh. because one thing that is for sure, as we open up with the scripture from our brother Paul, is that there will be trouble in the flesh. So go ahead and get your Bibles out. Before you turn to the page that I'm about to give you in the book and the chapter, hit the share button, get 10 of your friends online, put it on their wall, put it on their timeline, whatever it is you got, put it on there, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Once again, this is Midweek Meditation. We're here every week, 5:30 Central. That's our current schedule. I say that like that because as I tried to inform you last week, which to my mistake, I did have some sound playing in the background that maybe messed you up from hearing what I was trying to say. But the goal is to potentially prepare ourselves to do some new things here, to give the workers behind the scenes a little bit of a vacation and break. We got a lot of diligent and dedicated people that help put Midweek Meditations on. I know you think I just get in front of a camera and hit play, but there's a little bit more to it than that. And thank you for people that have been helping put this thing on. But I wanted to give them a break, and I also wanted to begin to bring forth some new ideas. So one of the ideas was that we were going to revisit an old lesson, an old meditation, because it's important that we revisit. We watch a lot of movies, right? And we'll rewatch our favorite movie 100 times. But many of us don't go back and revisit the scriptures, don't go back and revisit great lessons and meditations over and over again to gauge yourself and see how much work you put in to changing your life. So we wanted to do that, and I pray that some people got some edification out of it. I know a lot of people, they just seen it for the first time, so that was great for them because people are not necessarily going back and looking at the old stuff. But for those of you that already seen it, I pray that you got even more out of it than you got the first time, because prayerfully behind the scenes, behind looking at these scenes over and over again like you would look at a movie and start to memorize them, the meditation in your mind will actually begin to help groom you up into a better person. So we're going to start with 1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 28. And giving all praises to the Most High God for sending us His Son, Jesus Christ, who was able to then minister to the apostles, who was passed that knowledge down, and here we are today. We're going to start in 1 Corinthians 7 and 28. All right, so it says, "But, and if thou marry, thou hast not sinned. And if a virgin marry, she has not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you." So, if you've ever read this chapter before, if you've ever gone into 1 Corinthians chapter 7, you know that this is Paul going in and discussing marriage. Now, when we get to this part of the chapter, he's really discussing the reasons for marrying or remaining single. So, either way you go, it's up to you. Either way, you're not sinning by doing it. But just understand that there's pros and cons to both sides of the picture. There's pros to getting married, but there are cons to getting married. There are pros to remaining single, but there are definitely cons to remaining single. So he urges the people that if you're married, you should really think about the reasons why you got married and remain married, because there's benefits there, and you should keep those benefits. But if you're single, in like manner, you should also consider the reasons why you're still single and think about the benefits of being single and not seek to be married or seek to be loose. Whichever situation you're in, be content with your situation and uphold it and let the righteousness that comes out of it come forth. So it says, "But if thou marry, thou hast not sinned, and if a virgin marry, she have not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh." So regardless of if you marry, understand that there are going to be consequences that come with it. There's going to be trouble within the flesh. Now remember, we're spiritual beings, but we do walk around in fleshly bodies. And the troubles that come within the flesh are physical, but they will weigh on your spirit if you're not careful. So while the things that you really are dealing with are hurting you or hindering you or pressuring you from a physical standpoint, if you're not careful, they will then weigh in on your spiritual standpoint. Now, you got married, so that's the point in which we're talking about now for the people who are married. If you are married, you got to deal with some things that single people don't got to deal with. If you're single, you got to deal with some things married people don't have to deal with. Vice versa. But we're focused on those that are married today. So now what? Now that you've gotten married, now that you've, locked yourself in, now that you're bound by your wife, by your husband, now that you have become one flesh, the two have become one. Now that is the case, now what? Well, just understand you're going to have to go through troubles. And men, you cannot put your wife away for any trouble that hits. Women, you cannot get rid of your husband just because, you thought that you made a good decision, but now you have come to the realization that maybe you were wrong. That's what we got to examine a little bit of today. And this is what I've been meditating on. Why? Because I'm a married man. Why? Because troubles do present themselves in the flesh in my marriage. And if I'm being honest, right? So I'm not going to pretend as if I have the perfect marriage, but I will make sure that I work towards the best marriage I can do, that I can create, because the scriptures do say, be ye perfect as your Father is in heaven. So my goal is for perfection. But it takes time, it takes effort, it takes work, and anything worth having is worth working for. So let's go to Matthew chapter 19, verse 3. Let's talk about it, because Christ lets us know some things that we have to consider. Now that Paul has said what he has said, be mindful that Christ preceded him, and learning came from Christ, which led Paul to say some of the things that he said. Much of the things, almost all of the things, I would say. Everything that was said was inspired by Christ. Yeah. So, real quick, hit the share button. Make sure your friends, your family get this. You got somebody in your life that you know needs to hear it. They're going through it with their spouse. Heck, many of you need your spouse to hear it. So go ahead and call your wife, call your husband, say, hey, get on the lesson. We need to talk about it. We need to meditate on it. It might help us spiritually. Matthew 19 and 3. The Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, and saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? So let's be mindful. The Pharisees do what they do best. They always trying to tempt Christ. They always trying to catch him up in something. The Pharisees, they already know the law. They're doctors of the law, So let's not be fooled into thinking that they don't know the answer to the question. They're being very rhetorical here. Facetious, if you will. It says, the Pharisees also came unto him, tempting him, saying unto him, is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? So that's the question that's on the table. Is it lawful for a man to put away his wife for every cause? And he answered and said unto them, this is Christ. We got red letters here. For many of us, maybe your Bible is in the red, so you know this is Christ. For some of you, maybe you didn't know. Let's make sure that we know Christ is speaking. Have ye not read that he which made them at the beginning made them male and female? I got to stop right there for a minute. Christ answers with, have you not read? Meaning he wants you to think and consider things from the Old Testament. He that which made them at the beginning, not only the Old Testament, but the beginning of the Old Testament. He which made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. Wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. Where therefore God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. This is Christ's answer. He really answers him with a question. Like, bruh, don't you already know the answer to this? You're the doctor of the law. You're a Pharisee. You're the one that's supposed to be helping all the people, and I'm mad that I'm on the scene in the first place. So why don't you just do your job and know the answer to the question already? Have you not read? Yes, he's read. He's read these things in the book of the law. The first 5 books of the Bible were the things that the Pharisees were very knowledgeable about. So it says, for this cause shall a man leave father and mother. When it comes down to marriage, when a brother and a sister come together and become one flesh, they are supposed to leave father and mother. There's a transition that happens where a daughter is being bound by her parents, and now that bondage, if you will, goes to the husband. Now, a lot of you probably getting your panties in a bunch, sisters. The bondage. Okay, yeah, I said it like that. But when you really dive into this Bible, you understand what it means to be bound to a spouse, right? And remember, we just read in 1 Corinthians 7 and 28, but if you read up above in 27, these are the same words that Paul is using. He says, 1 Corinthians 7 and 27 actually, art thou bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loosed. Art thou loosed from a wife? Seek not a wife. So when you seek a wife, you're seeking to be bound to that wife. When you're seeking to be married, you're seeking to be bound to that spouse. So back where we were in Matthew, because we're not finished there. For this cause shall a man leave father and mother. Once the marriage happens, you transition from this period of being bound to the parents to being bound to the spouse. And once you do that, you're supposed to cleave to your spouse. You're supposed to be 2 separate people and become one. Become one. Become singular. Become so tight and wound up together that you can't really distinguish the two. Now, of course, I'm not talking about you actually absorb another person into your body. You become Siamese twins or whatever. I'm saying spiritually, which is what we always are talking about in this Bible, when even though we have to break down things of the flesh, spiritually you come together as one. It says, wherefore they are no more twain, but one flesh. So the things that affect you affect the other person. What therefore God have joined together, let no man put asunder. So we have a Pharisee coming and asking about putting away your spouse, putting away your wife as a man. But Christ is letting them know that if God joined that thing together, a man should not tear it apart. Whether it's the man that is a part of it or an external man, because a lot of people let other people's influence ruin their marriage. So it said, let no man put asunder. No man put asunder. Now, when it says no man, as I just said, that could be you as that man or even outside people as that man. But the word asunder is basically letting you know that don't let anybody divide this joining. Don't let anybody separate or break into pieces this joining that has happened spiritually and made 2 one. So when Christ gives this answer, the Pharisee, being the Pharisee that he is, then follows up with another bad question. And when I call it bad, it's not bad to a person who doesn't know better, but it's bad to someone who claims to be so knowledgeable, but yet won't do better. One thing that I always tell people, if you know better, do better. If you knew better, you would do better. See, a lot of people act like they know so much, but their actions prove that they don't really know much at all. So it is not good for you to proclaim that you got all this knowledge, but then in your actions, you do the exact opposite of what your knowledge would entail. So he says to him, they say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? So I found this very key. Because remember, if you know much about the scribes and the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Zealots, all of these different people, right? All of these different sects of Jews, for the most part, they didn't respect Christ. They didn't believe in him, or they felt that he was a threat to their society and way of life, that they rejected him. And that even though they might have knew of him, They just didn't want it to happen. If they had it their way, Christ would not be able to do the things that he was supposed to do. So it says, then why did Moses command? That showed you that they put Moses on a certain pedestal that they would not put Christ on. Now, as great as Moses is, and we got to give him the praise and the glory that he's worthy of, he's not Christ. And we got to understand, as we read through the scriptures, we understand that nobody is to be put on the same level as Christ. Not Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob, not Moses, not Paul, nobody. Because Christ is the one that died for our sin. Christ is the one that was blameless and without sin. Christ is the one that was the Son of God. Christ is the one that is the way, the truth, and the life. Christ is who he is that nobody else can be. Okay, cool. So it says, then they say unto him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorcement and to put her away? So we got to understand that historically, and you can go read this, Moses, after giving the laws that the Most High God gave, he then continued to expound the best way he could. He then began to, do what he had to do as a leader to ensure that we kept the laws to the best of our ability. But be mindful that everything that Moses did wasn't necessarily correct. Moses was not perfect in the same sense that Christ was perfect, right? So Moses, he made some mistakes. Moses had to learn to become a leader over time. He had to learn from people like his father-in-law. He had to learn from various situations on how to be the leader that he was. So they reference a point in time that Moses made a decision to give the writing of divorcement and to put a wife away. But Christ, being who he is meant to come and correct things that may have not been correct. To give clarity on things that may not have been very clear. To expound upon things that needed further explanation. So what does it say here? Christ says in the red letters again, right? Verse 8. He said unto them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. But from the beginning, it was not so. Now, there's some married people on this line right now. There's some married people who are tuned in right now. And you know that your spirit can get in such a way to where you develop a feeling toward that spouse to where you don't want to be married anymore. Now, maybe somebody never felt that way before. But if 10 people on here are being honest, if everybody is being honest, I can guarantee you that the majority of you have hit a rough patch in your marriage, in your relationship, to where you say, you know what, I'm out. Now, you might not have gone through with it, but your spirit felt that way in the moment to where if the option was that easy, you might not be in the marriage that you're in today. Now, if ain't nobody going to be honest, I'll be honest. I have only been married this one time. This is my first and only marriage. However, being that I did have worldly experience, and being that I did attempt to make my way towards having a relationship that might have become a marriage in the past, I've been in situations where if I really thought back in that moment and I tried harder, maybe I wouldn't have given up on the relationship so easy. Now, all praise to the Most High God, the grace and the mercy was shown, and it led me to where I am now. I'm a married man with a wife, and we sticking it out, and we're going through whatever we got to go through with a mindset of there's no way out. However, in times past, anytime something got rough, it was like, forget it, I'll just let it go. Anytime somebody wanted to leave, there might have not been a fight for it. And the simplest things could have been the thing that turned you away and turned you off. So if anyone's being honest, somebody might can relate to what I'm saying. If anybody is being truthful, somebody gave up on a marriage. If anybody's being truthful, somebody should have been married, but they looked for things within that other person to find an excuse not to be married to them. If anybody is being honest, somebody has gotten a divorce, and really they should not have done that. Because God gave stipulations. And as we keep reading, we'll understand more about what God wanted from us when it came to marriage, and we would not have fallen into the situation that we fell into so quickly. Now, it says, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. Moses allowed you to get a divorce because you were very hard in your heart. You had no forgiveness in your heart. Your heart was full of hatred. Your heart was not full of forgiveness and kindness and charity, but instead it was full of wickedness. Envy, malice, different attributes that were works of the flesh instead of fruits of the spirit. Those things cause you to not have any leniency within your relationship, cause you to not have any forgiveness and giving people opportunity and chance to repent of whatever within your marriages. So it says, but from the beginning it was not so. What happened in the beginning? Remember, Adam and Eve was in the beginning. And as much as Adam and Eve are known and notated for the issues they had within their marriage and the mistakes that they made within their marriage, which might have caused the other person to feel some type of way, you don't read about Adam and Eve getting a divorce. So you had people under Moses' rule who were quick to get a divorce for little things, but when Adam and Eve went through a situation that basically brought judgment unto all mankind from here on out, you didn't see them run. You didn't see them give up. You didn't see them go and get a bill of divorce, go to the judge and say, make us loose. They had to keep going, and even after the situation went down, you read about the fact that they are continuing to grow their family and continuing to build. So it says, and I say unto you, this is Christ. Christ is speaking to you. Whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whoso marrieth her which is put away, doth commit adultery. So when we read in other parts of the Bible, we find that when situations get rough, you're not to get a divorce. You may separate and give yourself time to reconcile, but when situations get rough, you don't give a divorce and give up completely and now put asunder to the two becoming one. What you do is you stick it out and you fix it. It says, except it be for fornication. Christ was letting you know something important here. The only reason you're going to get a divorce is if it be for fornication. See, if you read through the Bible, and I could go to all these different precepts, but I know that you are very well studied. I know that you know that if you go into the Old Testament, because that's what's being referenced here, you know that you're going to find where it talks about, when a person puts away adultery, is getting put away for adultery, why that is to occur. So then what? It says, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, that's letting you know that's the only thing that will tear somebody apart, is fornication. And when you really dig deep into it, what is it saying? It says, whosoever shall put away his wife. This is talking to the man putting away his wife for the only cause of fornication. See, men back in the day, oh, you can't cook good, get rid of her. Oh, you couldn't have a baby, get rid of her. Oh, you're not pretty anymore, get rid of her. They found any excuse. And I'm just making up a couple, but they found many excuses to put away their wives. But Moses gave them that allowance because of the hardness of their heart. It was actually not so from the beginning. Because keep in mind, the commandments were there before Moses gave them, but Moses had to give them because we was in Egypt learning all the wrong things. So it says, except to be for fornication, and shall marry another. So if you get rid of your wife and say, let me go get a new one, you're committing adultery. You think that you're getting married and that's supposed to be honorable. The scripture says marriage is honorable. But really, there's no honor in you marrying another after you've gotten divorced from the one that you were supposed to be one flesh with in the first place. See, you were supposed to stick it out with the one that you had, but you decided to get rid of that person. You decided to stop carrying on the duties of marriage. You were supposed to keep the duty of providing shelter, raiment, food, and things like that. But instead, you said, I'm out. I want to loose myself from the responsibility. I don't want anything to do with this person anymore. Oh, you know what? I found somebody else to be responsible for it. God said, don't do that. Christ said, don't do that, because now you're committing adultery. It says, and whoso marrieth her, which is put away, doth commit adultery. Why? Because now you're joining your flesh unto somebody else's flesh. You never were supposed to break free from that. You were never, what it said, made asunder. You were never divided. You were never broken back into two pieces. You were still one flesh. And now when that woman goes and connects with another man's flesh, it's like you're in the midst of it as well. You know, and not to be graphic, but when you consider yourself one flesh, whatever she's doing, you're doing. And even though you're not physically there, spiritually, your spirit is there. And now your spirit is trying to connect with another spirit that you shouldn't be connecting with, because God don't want, first and foremost, he doesn't want two men's spirit coming together. But when you put your spirit within that woman, and that woman then takes your spirit and brings it to the man, that's when a lot of the crazy actions come about, in which there's a lot of headbutting and a lack of consent, a lack of what's the word I want to use? What's the word I want to use? I'm trying to think of the word that I want. What was it? Obeying of your husband. Submitting to your husband. You can't submit because you bringing that spirit over there that's not supposed to submit. But that's getting a little deep for some of the people. The depth of it with that spirit being transferred between people, that might be a little deep, and that ain't the focus of today's meditation, but we'll go into that at another time. So it says, whosoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And whoso marrieth her, which is put away, commit adultery. So now, that person who tries to marry the woman that was put away, he's actually trying to marry someone who's already married. He's actually trying to marry someone who does not belong to him, who God did not put together. So God, it said in verse 6, what God had joined together, let no man put asunder. You try to put it asunder, you try to break it into pieces, and then reconnect pieces with other people, but God is then not honoring that marriage because you were supposed to stay married in the first place. Now, we got to step back for a moment. We got to think about this, because everybody, if we're being honest, we got to think about some of the trouble that we've dealt with in our flesh. And if you really being honest with me, we being honest today, I pray, right? If we're really being honest, you know that a lot of the times the things that you are battling with in the flesh is dealing with the fact that these people that we're dealing with had dealt with other people in the past. You know, let's go straight to it. The baby mama and the baby daddy drama. A lot of the trouble that many of us have in our flesh, in our marriage, is dealing with kids that were made outside of the marriage that we're in. You got brothers and sisters who come together on, oh, we're going to be this one big happy family, and I'm going to submit to you, and these are now your kids. But when you try to discipline that child, they say, oh, this ain't your kid. When you try to discipline your child, that child says, oh, I'm going to go talk to my real daddy. You're not my daddy. And then that stepdaddy and that stepmama mentality begins to weigh in on the spirit of that relationship. Now a man is sitting there like, ooh, I don't know if I should have married this woman. Oh, too late. You in there now. I don't know if I should have married this man. Well, sister, you should have thought about that beforehand, because you knew that he had these kids. You knew that he got into a certain situation in his past, and that it would continue to haunt him throughout his life. You knew that. And some of you even knew because you probably, and I'm not talking about anybody in particular. Let's not calm down. Let's not get offended. I'm not talking about anybody in particular. I'm just bringing up things that I know to be true in life. You got people who were married. You come in and sleep with that man or sleep with that woman while they're married. You break up the home. You become that home wrecker. Now you get married and you wonder why and then you get shocked and surprised when somebody come in and do you the same way you did another person. Now, we're just being honest today, guys. Think about this within yourself. You might have been that woman that is now married to a man who already had a wife, but you broke up their home. You may be the man that went in and took another man's wife. That may be you. And guess what? That right there became a situation in which you were an adulterer, where that person should have not put away their spouse. But thank the Lord, we got grace and we got mercy. Thank the Lord, some of us did this in ignorance and didn't know the truth, didn't know the commandments, and those old things are washed away. All praises to the Most High God for that. So we can all give the Lord another round of applause and another big thank you and praise for the fact that He'll forgive us for these things. But remember what we spoke about earlier. If you know better, you got to do better. So now that we know better, we can't do that again. So he said, Moses, because of the hardness of your heart, suffer you to put away your wives. See, when we was in the world, we got rid of the person that we was playing married with. And I say playing because some people actually got legally married. Others was shacking up and living together as if they were married. Some would call it common law in marriage. But whenever things got a little rough, whatever the reason, you just don't please me in the bedroom anymore. You don't make enough money. I don't like your mama. I just got to change her heart. You know what? I like a different nationality of people now. I like the wrong gender of people now. Whatever your thing was, I pray that you forgive, that you've forsaken that, and that God then gives you the opportunity to be forgiven, because now we got a chance to do it right. Christ says you don't get no do-overs. You don't get no let me return that and exchange it for something else. Whatever you get, you get. Whatever you've taken, you got to keep it. So if you're married, you got to remain married. But Christ said there's one caveat, and that's fornication. But that's the only caveat. So he says, his disciples said to him, if the case of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. So remember what we read in Corinthians. In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, I told you that chapter was about marriage. And when we got down to verse 28, it was really about reasons for getting married or reasons for staying single. And what the disciples are finding out right here is that, okay, one of the reasons to stay single is because I can't just break the contract of marriage at will and then say, you know what, I changed my mind. You know what, I want to do over. You know what, I actually found someone better than you. Sorry I wasted your time, but here we go, I'm going to start fresh. Christ said, no, it was never that way. The same way Adam and Eve were stuck together no matter what kind of crap they went through, you're supposed to be stuck together. And don't take stuck as negative. Take stuck as opportunity. As opportunity for you to fix things within your life. As opportunity for you to help somebody fix something within their life. Because both of these things are things that are glorified by the Most High God. God wants us to do better. God wants us to become better people. God wants us to improve who we are and not stay like we were in the old man. Okay? So it says, we just finished in Matthew. We're going back to 1 Corinthians. As a matter of fact, let's stay in Matthew a little bit longer. It says, verse 11, it said here, verse 10 again. His disciples say unto him, if the case of the man be so with his wife, it is not good to marry. They came to this conclusion. Wait a minute. If I cannot get rid of my wife for whatever reasons, and some reasons may be dang good reasons, and the only way out is this, if I'm really being wise, if I'm really being smart, maybe I might not be in such a rush to get married. See, that's something that we got to examine together. This is where we meditate, brothers. This is where we meditate, sisters. See, some of y'all are burning in your lust so strongly. And you think that if you get married, you'll be righteous. So you rush into it, and getting that fleshly pleasure is of the utmost importance to you. But I've had to say this to so many people. You know, you're not celebrating the holy days. You breaking the Sabbath, right? You still eating the wrong foods. You still got hatred in your heart. You still don't believe in all these different things. But for some reason, you think rushing into marriage is a thing that makes you now righteous. Well, I got news for you. If you're a wicked Negro, if you're a wicked Latino, if you're a wicked Native American, if you're a wicked whatever they call you, because maybe you're not on the Western Hemisphere. Maybe you're still over in the Eastern Hemisphere and you don't resonate with blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And maybe you're Isaiah 11:11. You've been scattered all over. You might be in India somewhere. You might be in Africa still. You might be in Europe still. So let's say you got whatever mindset that you got that ain't right. If that be the case, if this is the thought process you have, don't you think that maybe you got a lot of other things to fix as well besides just worried about getting married? And maybe those things that you have to fix are the reason why God hasn't blessed you with marriage yet. Or maybe the reason why you can't keep a woman happy in marriage or keep a man happy is because you got sinful tendencies that really hurt that other person. Have you ever considered those things? These are the things that we got to meditate on today. Because the hardness of your heart is not always the other person is that bad. Sometimes it's you're that bad. You know, being that I'm a married man, I always had to constantly evaluate right from wrong with my wife. And I have to let her know just because you don't like something doesn't mean that it's wrong. And that becomes a contention sometimes because someone can feel so passionate about their cause that they're not going to then say, well, if thus saith the Lord am I going to put that much energy into it. Sometimes they're going to say, yeah, I know it's not in the Bible, but still, I feel this way. Well, these are some of the things that we got to work on to make us not want to get rid of our spouse. These are some of the things that we got to work on to make our spouse not want to get rid of us. Because sometimes it's because they just breaking laws, and sometimes it's just things that we just personally don't like. But either way it go, Christ said, except it be for fornication. So we're going to stay there. We're going to stay with that mindset and stay with that thought. And as we finish this verse off, it says, but he said unto them, Christ says back to the disciples after they say, hey, if what you're saying is what it is, Christ, maybe it's good that we don't get married. Christ said to them, all men cannot receive this saying, save they to whom it is given. He said to them, you're smart, you're wise, and everybody can't understand it. Everybody ain't figuring that out. See, a lot of people want to get married so bad, but a lot of them don't realize that marriage is a very difficult thing. See, we slide into marriage so easily but don't realize how complicated it is. You know, and I use the word slide for a reason because that be the thing, the slide, right? That be the thing that really get us locked in. It ain't because the person is righteous, but it's because the person has a lust that they need to fulfill. And even though it was discussed where it said that to avoid fornication, let everybody have their own wife, that wasn't the only reason to get married. That's why we reviewed why did I get married? Because we had to find reasons why one should get married. And there are great reasons why people get married, and it don't have to always be about sex. So it said here, it said, all man cannot receive this saying, save they whom it is given. For there are some eunuchs. A eunuch is a person that is not using his loins. Now, it may be because he don't have any, because they were cut off. Hope that's not too graphic for you. Or it may be because spiritually they know, I need to really not put any focus in this area because I know what trouble it brings. So it says, which were so born from their mother's wombs, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. So notice that there are different types of eunuchs where they're not so focused on sex. There are different types of men, whether it be that they were born unable, whether they had to physically become eunuchs by the job that they had, and you think about different characters or representatives in the Bible who were eunuchs. Or you got those who just say, you know what, I'd rather remain unbound, unattached, untwained into one flesh than to go through these problems. Christ is saying, all praises to the men who are able to understand this saying. All praises to the men who get it and understand that sometimes it's better not to deal with that situation. Because verse 1 Corinthians 7:28, but and if thou marry, thou hast not sinned. Those guys, you can marry. And if a virgin marry, she have not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh. But I spare you. Paul was trying to spare people from some of the troubles that they're going to have to go through if they decide to get married. And those eunuchs, whatever reason they were eunuchs, were not having to go through some of the things that the disciples were realizing that men went through that caused them to go to Moses and ask for a divorce. Now, you have your reasons on why you got married, why you want to get married to this day. But you better have a real good examination and a thorough thought process on your reasons. And don't just dive in head first, pun intended, into these marriages, because if you do that without thinking, when the trouble hits, your spirit ain't ready to handle it. See, if you do it for the right reasons and you actually have done the things necessary for you to do your due diligence, right? And you have proven a friend and all of that good stuff, right? You know you're about to go through the trouble and you're prepared for it. Like, let me give you some examples. When you get married, you should know your partner's financial situation. So let's say that they have bad credit and a lot of debt. When you decide to marry that person, you know they got bad credit, you know they have debt, and you are willing to inherit that debt. Because let me give you the example of two becoming one. When you get married, now you have inherited their debt. When you get married, you can't say, oh, that's my wife's debt. When she don't pay that debt, when you file your taxes, they taking it out of your tax return. And they may even garnish your wages. Now, you might try to file injured spouse and say, oh, I didn't know that was her debt before we got married. But you're still responsible for it now that you got it. Now, when you buy a house, brother, when you buy a car, sister, they have right to those possessions as well. And especially in certain states, where, it's looked at as joint property from then on out, even if their name is not on the deed, even if their name is not on the paperwork, they still have certain responsibility. And the worst part about it could be is you're the only one that's going to take the financial hit, but they still have part ownership. So did you think about that? That's why the disciples was like, oh man, it may be that it's best that we don't get married. So this is what Paul was trying to spare you from. Now, I'm not here to scare you away from getting married. I'm here to put your mind in the right place to help you think. This is what I meditated on, to help brothers and sisters think before they get married. And if they're already married, to think about, okay, I'm in this. I'm not going to get out of it. So regardless of what comes about, I got to prepare myself for it. So now I want to talk to you about a couple of biblical marriages. I want to talk to you about a couple of biblical marriages where somebody could have very easily wanted to get out of it. It was trouble. I want to show you some of the troubles in the flesh that I meditated on, that I read about. We're going to start from the beginning, because that's what Christ said. In the beginning, it was not so. Genesis chapter 3 and verse 12. Now, I got to take a break for a moment. I got to see how my people are doing. I got to make sure that y'all hit that share button, because I know somebody is catching what is being said. Somebody is now able to receive the saying that many cannot receive. So somebody right now wants to be married very bad. Oh, I want children. Oh, I just want love. I just want to cuddle all day. I just want to, do these different things that only married people should do. But now somebody's saying, you know what, I do want those things. However, I better be very cautious. I better take my time and pray for the right thing and let the Most High's will be done, not rush into it and not take it lightly, because once I get locked in, ain't no getting out. Somebody knows that. So I need you to take a moment and say, yes, I get it. I understand. I'm thankful that God put this in his Bible. Put that in the comment section. Share it with your friend, because you got a friend right now that keep telling you, girl, I just want to be married. I want what you have. And little does she know that what you have be stressing the heck out of you. There's brothers right now that's daily. Hey, man, you hook me up with a wife, man. You know any good prospects? Hey, help me find. Brother, you in a good position right now being single. They don't understand that it ain't all a bed of roses. You lay the roses out. You put the rose petals on the bed or whatnot, but those things wilt. And then they start to stain up your pillow and your comforter and all of that, and you got to clean that stuff up. It becomes a mess over time. So everything is not always just a bed of roses. Then there's the flip side of everything that you do. So there's a flip side to the marriage. So Adam and Eve, let's get to it. This is Genesis chapter 3 and verse 12. Now, of course, I'm going to only hit a little bit of it. I'm not going to read everything. So I'm starting at verse 12 with the thought process that you already know a little bit about Adam and Eve. But if you don't, Adam, Eve, Adam is that man that was created, and the woman was created from his rib. That was the gift from the Most High, because it was not good that man should be alone, right? So that's a gift from the Lord. But just understand that Adam, it wasn't all smiles with Adam. So it said, verse 12, and the man said, the woman who thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. Okay, context. I hate. You always want to read the whole Bible, because you want to give everybody the context. But I know that you are wise adults that have been in your scriptures. Adam and Eve. Adam was told, don't take from the tree. Eve took from the tree, gave to her husband, and now he took from the tree. God is like, what are you doing? You disobeyed me. He blames it on the wife and say, the woman that you gave me, Lord. She gave me of the tree and I did eat. He puts the blame on her. And the Lord said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me and I did eat. So the woman is now blaming it on the serpent. Oh, I was tricked. Now, let's talk about it. This is part of the trouble in the flesh. Because the man is rightfully being able to say, well, it was my woman who brought it to me. But he's wrong in the situation. Because as a leader of your house, you know, you men, you're supposed to be leaders in the house. You're supposed to be the head of the household. And you wonder why it's so hard for a woman to submit, because many men make it difficult to be submitted to because we're not great leaders. But Adam didn't take responsibility here. He blamed his wife. The wife didn't take responsibility. She blamed the serpent. Everybody's passing the blame. Nobody's taking responsibility for their actions. These are parts of the trouble in the flesh because the woman knew better but didn't do better. She said, oh, I was tricked. Woman, you wasn't tricked. You wanted the power. You wanted to be as a god when that wasn't what God gave for you. God told you that the man was as a god. And you wanted what he had. There was jealousy. There was envy. There was lack of appreciation for the place that the Most High God had put you in. So then she went and did something disobedient and caused the whole house to get in trouble. Now, I can't put that all on the woman because the man had the opportunity at any time to stop it. Hey, woman, what are you doing messing with that tree? Stop that. Nope, don't give that to me. I'm not eating of it. She could have got in trouble at least by herself. But now he began to inherit the issue because not only was it his wife who was his flesh, but then he even partook in it. These are some of the troubles in the flesh. And some of you have experienced it where one spouse or the other is bringing something into the relationship that then drastically affects the other. See, somebody can really understand where Eve is coming from. Somebody can really understand where Adam is coming from because somebody has an Adam or Eve in their life. Somebody has a wife or a husband that is bringing things to them that God does not approve of, and because of their lack of willpower or because of their lack of knowledge or whatever they lack, they then fall into the same blame as the person who brought it. Somebody is not strong enough in their relationship to tell their wife, no, that's wicked. Somebody is not strong enough to even tell their husband, that's not of God. I can't get down with that. Somebody is willing to sin because of the influence of the other. See, somebody can relate to Adam and Eve and the trouble that they had within the flesh. So guess what? The trouble that they then had within the flesh led somewhere. It said, let's get to it. Verse 16. And unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception, and in sorrow shall I bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. See, because of the trouble in the flesh where somebody didn't do what they were supposed to do, multiple people didn't do what they were supposed to do, now the woman is being punished. Now the woman is being punished in a way that maybe she could have got away with had she been told by her husband, don't do that. Or had she just not did it because she knew that she wasn't supposed to do it. It said sorrow and conception. You got women right now who want to have a talk with Eve when they get a chance. And they want to tell her about herself and really let her know how Eve has ruined their life. But I got news for most of you women. You're Eve. You would have did the same thing. And you still doing the same thing now. You still disobeying your husband. You still bringing things up that you know are wrong, but you trying to see what you can get away with. I got news for you. There's still Adams running around today who are not checking their wife when she does wrong, who are not taking responsibility for the fact that everything is your fault when you're the leader. when you're the husband, if you allowed your wife to do it, you got to take responsibility for it. That's some of the things that we got to learn. But these are the troubles in the flesh that it's great that these things are written aforetime for our learning, because now we can have patience, comfort, and hope to fix our problems if we actually paying attention. But I don't know, maybe you're not paying attention today. Maybe right now you saying, he ain't talking about me. I ain't do that to my husband. Yes, you did yesterday, less than 24 hours ago. I'm the man of my house. I rule with all authority. Man, your wife carries your manhood in her purse, and she gives it to you when she wants to. She wants to let you know, oh, it's okay for you to speak. That's how some of y'all get down. And it's okay. You have chance for repentance. And here we go. This is Midweek Meditation, right? This is my meditation. Things that I'm thinking about sharing with you, right? These are the things that I examine for myself. I have to constantly, every day, say to myself, am I being the man I'm supposed to be? Am I getting weak to my wife? Let me go in there and roar like a lion, make sure she know who it is. Nah, I'm just playing. Because it's a joke. Because a lot of people want to quickly say that, oh, you being a lion in the house. Oh, well, dang it, I'm supposed to be a lion. And sometimes, but if you really read that verse, it's saying don't be a frantic. Lions don't roar all day. Shout out to P. Don Mega, who likes to say that all the time. You don't roar all day. You on all the time? No, a lion takes a nap sometime. A lion sits there. You done seen lions and lionesses cuddling in the animal kingdom, in the jungle, right? You see that sometimes the woman hunts, sometimes the lioness hunts, sometimes the male lions hunt. You see that there's dynamics in the relationship. So I sit back and I ask myself, are my dynamics in check? Am I making sure that I'm ruling my house with all authority well? Am I serious when I need to be serious? Am I playful when I need to be playful? Do I make sure that I treat my spouse as if it's my own flesh? I got to examine these things daily. See, I don't want to be the negative Adam, but Adam had positive qualities. I want to be the positive Adam. You sisters should not be the negative Eve. Eve got positive qualities too, even though she just noted for her one big mistake. She got positive qualities too. And so each of us have to begin to cultivate those positive qualities within us and tear down and get rid of the negative qualities. Get rid of the strongholds within your mind that led you to make the wrong decisions that you made. See, Eve had a stronghold, and that stronghold was the serpent saying that you could have the same power as everybody else, as the man. And now she believed that, and she protected that in her mind, and that's what made her give the excuses. So we talked about Adam and Eve. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 6, verse 16. Somebody said Jezebel and Ahab's out there. Hey, Eleazar, somebody is a Jezebel. That is correct. Somebody is an Ahab, but everybody think that they are the mighty men. They think that they the Davids and the Solomons. Well, I got news for you. We about to go to talk about David now. And as great as he was, the fact that he was the apple of the eye, a friend. We got people who were friends of God. We got people who were always looked at in these great lights. However, they had negatives too. David had negatives. So we're going to talk about David a little bit too. Because you think that you are David probably. Well, don't think that Ahab didn't have no good qualities. And dare I say it, don't think that Jezebel didn't have a good quality or two. She might only have 1 out of 1,000, but don't think that she didn't have any good qualities. And don't forget who she was and what nation she was of. 2 Samuel 6 and 16. And the ark of the Lord came into the city of David. Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart. See, some of y'all got a wife that when you're happy, she's upset. She can't stand to see you in a good mood. Some of you got that wife, and some of you brothers, you probably feel the same way about your wife. you can't stand to see her in a good mood. So if you got that, well, that's some of the trouble in the flesh. You stuck there. You can't put your wife away because she despised you, though. Verse 17. And they brought in the ark of the Lord and set in his place, in the midst of the tabernacle that David pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And as soon as David had made an end of offering burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord's host, and and he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well to the women as men, and to everyone a cake of bread and a good piece of flesh and a flagon of wine. So all the people departed, one to his house, everyone to his house. Then David returned to bless his household. So David, in all his excitement, is going, he's putting balance into his life. He's saying, you know what? I'm going to party with the people, but I ain't going to forget about my household. I got to bless them too. But you got the hater upstairs looking back with despise. David returned to bless his household, and Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David. And did she hug him and say, all praises, David? Wonderful. It's great what you did. Let's dance. Matter of fact, I made sure that when you got home, the party was going to be better than it was out there. I got some of this for you, and I got some of that. Whatever this and that is, use your imagination. This woman said, how glorious was the king of Israel today. She said it with sarcasm. She said it with that neck twist. She said it with the eye roll. She said it with all the in her voice. She probably sucked her teeth a little bit. And I'm not going to try to do her justice because, being a man, I can't quite give the feminine approach to it. But you know what she did. Some of y'all did it to your husband last night. Some of y'all did it to him this morning. He went to work, you had the eye roll. He came back from work, you had the neck snap. You did all of that. Okay, but not you righteous people on here. Everybody on here is righteous. I know. I'm not talking about you, sister. Why are you offended, sister? I don't even know you like that. Calm down. Just reading the Bible. It says, how glorious was the king of Israel today, with all her sarcasm, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovereth himself. Okay, so we got to ask ourselves, was she wrong? Was she right? Regardless of if she was wrong or right, this is what we're getting into. There was an issue between the spouses. They didn't like each other in a certain way. We already know from up above that she despised him. It says, and David said unto Michal, it was before the Lord which chose me before thy father and before all his house to appoint me ruler over the people of the Lord, over Israel. Therefore I will play before the Lord. He started cutting. Woman, if you don't shut up, I got chose over your daddy. And now I'm the man. So don't worry about all of that extra stuff. Listen, I'm doing what I do. Don't worry about me. That's kind of how he coming off, right? And I will yet be more vile than thus. He say, if you don't like what I did, what I'm about to do next, you definitely ain't gonna like that. And will be base in mine own sight, and of the maidservants which thou hast spoken of them shall I be had in honor. Huh. Then he doubled down. He making it harder and worse on the woman. He's saying, for what you said, I will make you feel real bad about. You're going to regret saying these things to me because I'm going to do worse than what you have said I've done already. Therefore, Michal, the daughter of Saul, had no child until the day of her death. So, what happened here? Trouble in the flesh happened. And you got to imagine, this wasn't a one-time deal. She didn't just despise him in that moment. The despising came over time in which he knew how he was going to have to deal with her eventually. And this was the straw that broke the camel back. To the point in which, you know what? I ain't even going to deal with you anymore. We're not even having children. And that's something every woman wants to have children with her husband. Now, okay, most women, some of y'all mind ain't right, and you don't see the glory and the value of having children, but you just saw that Eve was supposed to go through child conception and be ruled over by her husband. That was part of the punishment for what she did. Not the punishment of necessarily having children, but the punishment of what goes through having children, which is the conception, the sorrow in thy conception. So McCall was punished by her husband. He said, I can't divorce you, but I won't have no kids with you, which means I'm not even gonna have sex with you. So one of the values of being married got taken away from her because her spirit wasn't right. If her spirit had been right, that might have been the least of her problems. Because her spirit was wrong, look what it caused. And now I'm not saying that David was right either. There could have been some forgiveness somewhere. There could have been some reconciliation. But this was the hardness of his heart doing what he could do despite the fact that he wasn't able to divorce her. So he then shamed her. He then rebuked her. He put distance in between her. And instead of them getting their life together and fixing things, they continually had hatred for one another all the way up until her death. She remained childless. So there was something between them that they had to consider. And this is one of the things that when the disciples look back, they say, you know what, it's better not to get married. Because David still had to maintain that woman. And that woman still had to stick with him. She couldn't go and remarry. She couldn't then say, you know what, I'm bouncing. I'm going back to live with my mom. Oh, wait. I'm going back to live with my daddy. Nope, he's dead anyway. Not to say that you could have done it anyway. This woman was stuck. That's why it was good to not get married, because she couldn't check her spirit. She didn't know how to be the wife that she was supposed to be. And the husband, he was in a position where he didn't have to be the husband. He could have been. The king could get away with a little bit. So don't get me wrong. These troubles come up. So when we read these things, we got to examine them for ourselves and say, you know what? I'd like to avoid that. But David didn't have just one run-in with issues with wives, with women. David was a man with multiple women. David was a man that when he, did what he did and made the decisions that he made, that once again you saw that there was trouble within that flesh. It didn't just say, McCall was not his only trouble in the flesh situation. He continued to have others. So let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 11, verse 3-5. And David sent and inquired after the woman. And one said, is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? Oh, David, no, don't do it. David, no, you know better. You're supposed to be God's favorite. David going after a married woman, y'all. David is about to commit adultery, y'all. I'm going to, spoiler alert, in case you haven't read it. David inquired after a woman that was already married. He was looking at her in lust. And when he saw her, he had to have her. So, verse 4, and David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him, and he lay with her, and she was purified from her uncleanness and returned unto her house. So now we got to step back here for a second. We ain't got to read too much. We just got to think about this. We got to meditate on this. You got a man who wants another man's wife. That's a no-no. You got a wife who's willing to be taken by a man when she has a husband. That's a no-no. So you got two people who are willing to make decisions that are putting either one of them in sin. You got two people who are not considering the consequences of how it's going to affect other people. You got this going on, and if you know the story, David tries to cover up his adultery. He tries to say, hey, brother, you know what? I know I got you working, in the military and doing your thing out in the field, but I need you to come home and sleep with your wife so it won't be suspicious when she's pregnant. So you won't think that I's be that baby daddy. So I won't have to stand up in the lineup and say I's the pappy. Can you come and sleep with your wife? Brother trying to get slick with it. Now, the woman know, verse 5 says, and the woman conceived and sent and told David and said, I am with child. The woman knows that she's pregnant. She know that she got a husband out on the battlefield, and that's somebody can relate right here. Some of y'all have been in the military, and while your spouse is on deployment, there's some infidelity that went on. Whether it actually happened or not, maybe you just were jealous and you thought it was happening. But some situations have occurred that you can relate to. Somebody did that. Somebody has been exposed to this particular trouble in the flesh. So David says, hey, ooh, you pregnant? Oh, I just thought I was going, in and out and go back about my business, just fulfill my little lust here. But it ain't got real. They about to find out that the king out here doing things that he ought not do. I got to come up with a plan. Hey, brother, sleep with your wife. Make it look like. Now, that baby going to come out already looking just like David. And he going to be on Maury Povich talking about how that's my nose with my nose right here. You know how silly we get when we do something wrong and we can't defend ourselves, so we say some stupid stuff. David would have been in that position. So he said, oh, no, I can't let that happen. Hey, Joab, send that brother to the hottest part of the battle and get him killed. Since he won't go ahead and get his wife pregnant, we got to get the brother killed. Because I can't have this on me. I'm the king. I can't even let nobody make me look bad, even though it's myself making myself look bad. So let's skip down to verse 27. Because now I skipped all the part where David then came up with a plan to have him sleep with his wife. I'm skipping the part where David said, well, since you won't sleep with your wife, let's get you killed. The brother is killed. The brother's been put to death now. So now he take the woman, verse 27. And when the morning was past, the morning of Uriah, who is now dead, David sent and fetched her to his house. David went and said, hey, Bathsheba, you know what? I heard about your husband. I know that he's dead. I feel so bad. I feel so bad about the situation. Come over here. Let me comfort you. I'll take care of you. David tried to act like he the hero when he is the adulterer and the murderer. Oh, man, I hate to have to say this about David. David, all we want to do is talk about the good. Why I hurt to talk about my King David like that. Not my King David. But, David, your King David. Everybody want to be David. Now they like, I don't really, want to be David right now. I just want to be like Christ instead. Now you want to be like Christ, right? When at first you was like, I want to be like King David. I want to be the mighty man with all the wives. But all these wives was really not good for him is what I'm getting at. It's funny I had to have this conversation earlier, and I can't go into it. But I'm just saying, this is a situation where I bet David wished not only did he reconsider the whole marriage thing, but maybe he would have reconsidered the marriage thing multiple times since he had multiple wives. So it said, David sent and fetched her to his house, and she became his wife and bare him a son. But the thing that David had done displeased the Lord. So they ended up having a child out of this situation. Their one night stand became a baby mama, baby daddy drama situation. And one of the worst you'll see, because at least most of the people that Because I ain't talking about you. There ain't no baby mamas or baby daddies here. I know. Okay, maybe there's a few. But at least most of you didn't have to kill the baby, the adulterous situation. You slept with somebody, and the worst that happened was now y'all broke up. You ain't had to kill the man. Yeah, but David killed the man. He was responsible for that. So this displeased the Lord. David was not happy, even though that was David, the Lord's man. You know, he wasn't happy about that. So what happens? Nathan in chapter 12 comes and let David know that he was wrong for that. I ain't going to read chapter 12 to you. You got to read it to yourself. But Nathan gives him a parable, which David then understands, get angry. Before he understands, it judges the matter and gets angry, and then he comes to the realization, oh, wait, you talking about me. Ooh. So, yeah, you know what? I messed up. I accept that. That was the thing that made David great. Is he at least, in all the wickedness that he did, he would accept his fault and then work on fixing it. See, a lot of us, we don't never accept our fault. We make excuses. We pull that Adam and Eve stuff. Well, the wife you gave me, Lord, oh, the serpent deceived me. We never say, you know what? I messed up. I got to repent of that thing. So, verse 13, and David said unto Nathan, this is 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 13. And David said unto Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. If we stop right there, if y'all don't learn nothing else, learn how to be like David when he recognized that he sinned and he can confess it and then he can forsake it. See, many of us are stuck because we never confess our part. We never confess our sin. Luckily, Nathan came and showed him the situation, and then David could then say, you know what? I sinned. And Nathan said unto David, the Lord hath put away thy sin, thou shalt not die. The Lord showed mercy. Howbeit, because this deed thou hast given great occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme, the child also that is born unto thee shall surely die. Israel, we got to take a moment to examine verse 14. The sins that we do, we give occasion to the enemy to blaspheme the Lord. When we do things contrary to God, we don't never think about the fact that it makes God look bad. We don't think about the effect it has on the nation of Israel. You know, the rest of the world is supposed to look at us as a wise nation, but you wonder why they call you, you know the word, you wonder why they call you everything but a child of God. Because we do everything but what a child of God should do. And in our marriage, you know, some of us have gotten together under these similar pretenses. There's trouble that come in the flesh. Now your baby got to die. Now, for me, I think of these things like this. Not only do I have to go through the sorrow and pain of losing the fruit of my loins. You know, not only does my wife have to carry this baby for the 9 months and begin to develop this attachment and then bring the baby forth and fall in love with that baby and lose that fruit of her womb, but then you got all the other things that come with it. So if losing your family or your baby wasn't enough, you didn't, you know, there was money that went into it. I don't know about y'all, but there's a lot of money that goes into the hospital visit of having a baby. And that's if there's no complications. If there's a complication, the money is even worse. So imagine, and I know some of y'all ain't thinking about it like this, but these are troubles in the flesh, and I just got to mention it because it's real. Some of you have experienced where when you have that child, it costs you tens of thousands of dollars of medical bills. So now you may have lost the baby, and that has increased the expense because now you got all the medical bills that go with putting the baby in ICU, NICU, respirator, all of that. You had, this hospital didn't have a NICU. Put the baby in an ambulance and take it to another location. Ambulance fee. Now you had all those expenses. Then the baby died. Now you got the fees of a funeral. You know, those are troubles in the flesh because many of you can relate. But one of the biggest things that cause trouble in relationships is money. People always, wives especially, always complaining about the husband ain't taking care of her the way that she thought, imagined in her Arabesque novels that she was reading, that she would be taken care of. She thought that she was going to go from living with her daddy, having no value as of yet, except she knew how to make unleavened bread, maybe sew a few fringes. So now she giving up some sex, and that then makes her ready to be with a six-figure husband. But many of these husbands have to grow into their success. But wives be so troubled by the fact that she not already ready to wear Louis Vuitton day one. She not already able to drive a Benz day one. And be mindful she ain't brought much to the table herself, if anything. So I bring that up to show you different troubles in the flesh, because now you got McCall, who she wasn't doing much to make David's life better. She was just being despised. She was troubled from the beginning, because if you look at how her daddy played David, David was just really getting the short end of the stick in that relationship a lot of times. Now, I'm not saying that McCall didn't get a short end either. I'm just saying, when you think about it, these were some of the troubles in the flesh. So now you can imagine that as we're going through what David is going through from chapter 6 to chapter 11, perhaps this is what put the wicked spirit on David, because his last wife wasn't acting right. Perhaps this is what the trouble that he received from McCall just kept the domino effect of continuous troubles with women. And this could have very well just been David's spirit. Don't get me wrong, I'm not always blaming the woman. The man got his part too. But when you look at it, this is why the disciples could look back and say, if it be thus, then maybe it'd be good not to get married, because people in their right mind, they don't want baby mama, baby daddy drama. Who wakes up in the morning wishing to be a baby? Well, I actually know some people who want to be baby mamas. I don't know what's wrong with them, but they rather be a baby mama than a wife. That's between you and the Lord, whatever. I guess there are brothers who really don't mind being baby daddies, you know. They are okay with child support after child support. They okay with that. You know, and I'm not here to judge that, but I'm meditating. I'm thankful that I am not a baby daddy, that I don't have a baby mama, because those are troubles in the flesh. I don't want to go to court. That's trouble in the flesh. I don't want to have to ask permission to see my child. That's trouble in the flesh. I don't want my check to be short by 30%. That's trouble in the flesh, or whatever percent. Some of y'all probably got much worse garnishments than that. But if you had been paying your own child support, that would have been better. But if you hadn't have been irresponsible with making a baby and not prepared to be a husband, that would have been better. Or if you had said, you know what, I'm just an irresponsible person, and it'd be better that I don't get married, that would have been good as well. Shout out to the baby mamas and the baby daddies. Because God put these things in the Bible so that you can repent of these things. So I'm shouting you out, not to say that it's a good thing, but to say, we got something to talk about here. You got something to repent of, because each of us have different things that we got to work on. And whatever you're going through is no worse or better than what the next person is going through. We all got to repent and get ourselves together. So, you know, for those of you who are in these situations, examine them. Don't continue to put yourself in a worse situation, because somebody is on baby mama number 7. Somebody's on baby daddy number 7. And if that be the case, hopefully there's a point in time where you learn from your situation and you say, I would really like to stop creating more problems in my life. I got enough. So let's go to 1 Samuel 25 and 3. Eleazar, don't put them hard facts out there like that. Don't be a Sean Kemp. Hey, let Sean Kemp make it, man. He didn't know, but okay, I can't tell you what he knew. Sean Kemp, may the Lord be with you on your situations with all the 30 baby mamas that you got, or 30 babies with multiple women is what Eliezer said. All praises for mercy and grace and forgiveness. 1 Samuel 25:3. Now the name of a man was Nabal, and the name of his wife was Abigail, and she was was a woman of good understanding and of beautiful countenance. All praises. Ain't that what we want, brothers? We want women of good understanding. We want beautiful women, right? But the man was churlish and evil in his doing, and he was of the house of Caleb. Now, sisters, I gotta get on your side for a second. You know, some of you, well, I guess this ain't really on your side. Some of you, you're a great catch. Some of you, you got good, wise understanding. You're beautiful. You got a lot of great qualities. But then you throw your great qualities down the drain, and you get with a man who ain't about, you know the word. You get with a man that's churlish. Oh, don't nobody know what churlish means. Y'all want me to look it up for you? Define churlish. It says rude in a mean spirit and surely way. Let's see if there's any other definitions we want to pull. Lack of civility or graciousness. Difficult to work with and deal with. Let's see if there's any more. Give you the understanding of churlish. Unpleasant. Niggardly. Those are good words. So she was all of that and a bag of chips, but he was very difficult to deal with. And even as kind-hearted as she was and as good-spirited as she was, she didn't do none of that Eve stuff, right? She didn't do none of that McCall stuff, right? Okay, yeah, but you chose a man that wasn't quite right. You chose a man that was very rude and rude to the wrong people. Now, giving you the context, I'm not going to read it all, but Nabal disrespected David, who was a powerful man, and he was about to get himself killed having that type of, demeanor about himself, and this woman protected him. See, some of you women, you're going to have trouble in the flesh like this where as good of a person as you are, you always got to clean up your husband's mess. Some of you women, as good of a person, as wise of an understanding you are, you have put yourself in a position because you decided to get married. May have been better not to, but you decided to get married. You always got to deal with the BS and the crap that your husband puts you through. Now, on the flip side, some of you men have to do the same thing for you women because you got women that ain't got no home training. Shout out to the parents who didn't know no better. You know, hopefully you learn something and you know not to do your grandkids like that, or if you have any younger ones, that you get them right. But everybody has to take heed to this situation here. Everybody has a situation where they actually not even doing wrong, and they actually are great people, but they just got with the wrong person. They got with the wrong person in marriage. And now you just got to take blame and fault for everything because you want flesh. Now, some people just like to skip to the end of the story where Nabal got put to death by the Most High as well, and she got to ride off into the sunset with David, and now she's another wife to David. But if we don't go too far and we stick to the point, the scripture said there's trouble in the flesh, and she had to deal with this stuff. And the situation with David where Nabal was rude to David wasn't the only time, I'm sure. This is why his name was Nabal, and he was known for being churlish and evil in his doings. This is how he got down. And had the Lord not put him to death, how long would she still have to deal with this brother? How long would she still have to, be known for being married to the churlish man who is evil in his doings? How long would she have to say, you know what? The brother then got drunk. The brother then acted a fool. And I just got to deal with it. I gotta, smooth this over for the people. How long would she have to deal with that? These are some of the troubles in the flesh that you women, you should consider. You want you a Lord. You want you a man. You want you, a big, strong, long bearded, heavy fisted when he's doing shalom brother. But you got to know that some of these brothers, we ain't got no home training either. And we don't know how to act either. And we still got some repenting to do. And instead of waiting for us to really grow in the spirit, you want to jump into the bed with us while we still immature. And I hate to say it, some brothers ain't going to ever get mature. Some sisters ain't either. You're going to be 40 years old, beard grayer than a mug, your hair done fell out, and you still immature, churlish, evil in your doings. And that's just the way it is. But you want to rush into that marriage, understand that there will be trouble in the flesh. Paul tried to warn you. Paul tried to spare you. Let's go to Acts chapter 5. Verse 1. But a certain man named Ananias, with Sapphira, his wife, sold a possession and kept back part of the price. His wife also being privy to it, and brought a certain part and laid it at the apostles' feet. But Peter said, Ananias, why have Satan filled thine heart to lie to the Holy Ghost and to keep back part of the price of the land? While it remained, was it not thine own? And after it was sold, was it not thine own power? Why hast thou conceived this thing in thine heart? Thou hast not lied unto men, but unto God. And Ananias, hearing these words, fell down and gave up the ghost, and great fear came on all them that had heard these things. And the young men arose and woke up and carried him out and buried him. And it was about the space of 3 hours after, when the wife, not knowing what was done, came in, and Peter answered unto her, Tell me whether ye sold the land for so much? And she said, Yea, for so much. Then Peter said unto her, How is it that ye have agreed together to tempt the Spirit of the Lord? Behold, the feet of them which have buried thy husband are at the door, and shall carry thee out. And she fell down straightway at his feet, and yielded up the ghost. And the young men came in, and found her dead, and carrying her forth, buried her by her husband. So, what do we find here? Trouble in the flesh, right? When you got a wicked spouse, and you consent to their wickedness, you're going to consent to their judgment as well. The sister knew her husband was doing evil, and she did it right along with him. Now, what she should have did was told her husband, hey, that's wrong. Hey, I can't be a part of that. But what she did created her own troubles. Now they're both dead because the marriage that the partner that they chose to marry was not helpful to them. See, many of us, we choose spouses that don't help us in the time that we need help. The scriptures say that a woman is a helpmeet. Well, help me not do dumb stuff. Why are you not my Abigail? I need you to pull him, even though Nabal still died. At least Abigail tried. So Sapphira said, you know what? Nah, we wicked together. We Bonnie and Clyde. We ride together. We die together. Foolishness. Now, these are the type of troubles that are in flesh, because the thing that your spouse can do can get you killed too. Now, I know nobody on here has gone through that. Nobody on here's spouse got them killed, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to watch the lesson. However, it could be you one day. And you got to say, you know what? I never want to be that couple right there. That's not who I look up to. Just like, really, you shouldn't look up to Bonnie and Clyde. That's not a couple you aspire to. And many of you really look at the wrong couples and aspire to be like the wrong couples for the wrong reasons. Now, I know you're looking at the glory of the life that they portray in their social media and in their, paparazzi. However, you don't know that in the background, they evil, they wicked, and they got a lot of trouble in the flesh too. Then you got other situations like Samson and Delilah. You got various situations in the Bible. Every wife and every husband in the Bible had trouble in the flesh. Some was worse than others. Some were able to get over it, and some were stuck in it, and it was the cause of their demise. But as brothers and sisters, we really got to examine certain things. Let's read 1 Peter 3. We're going to read verse 1 and 2 real quick. Likewise, you wives, be in subjection to your own husbands. Then if any obey not the word, they also may be without the word won by the conversation of the wives. See, what you should be doing, women, is even if your husband is not as righteous as he should be, that you stay in subjection to him. If you think that he ain't right, that's okay. Help him get right. And if they obey not the word, that you can win that man over by your godly conversation. But you know what the problem is? Most of you women don't have godly conversation. Most of you women talk about everything but God. It's a hassle to get you to pray with your husband. It's a hassle to get you to study with your husband. But let it be, let's watch a movie. Oh, you there? Let it be, oh, this what happened on this reality TV. Oh, you there? Let any foolishness come up you got time for. But when it's spiritual time, oh, I was busy. The kids had me doing this. Oh, work that. But none of those are your excuses when it's something that you want to do for enjoyment and pleasure. It says, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear. Many of you don't know what chaste means, so we're going to define it. Chaste. Refrain from no. Let me go to free from obscenity and decent, undefiled, stainless, pure in style, not excessively ornamented, simple. Your conversation needs to fit those attributes. But most of your conversations are very defiled. Some of you women curse like sailors. Some of you women are only talking about sex and worldly things. You know, because sex don't have to be a worldly thing when it's with your spouse. But then you talking about other people's sex lives. You're talking about other people's marriages. You're gossiping. You're busybody. You're talebearing. You're murmuring. But you're not bringing righteousness into the house. It says, we're going to skip down to verse 5. For after this manner in the old times, the holy women also, who trusted in God, adorned themselves being in subjection to their own husbands. A lot of women are more in subjection to their pastor, to their bishop, to their employer, their boss at their job, to the neighbor. They're in subjection to their daddy, to their brother. They're more in subjection to anybody else but their husband. But what God called you women to really do is be in subjection to your husband. See, that's where Eve messed up. She was in subjection to the serpent. You know, everybody got to get in the place that they're supposed to be in and play their role. And you brothers got to be a person worth being in subjection to. But even if the brother is not, sisters, be in subjection to him, that even if he don't obey the word, that you can win him over by the conversation. If any and everybody try to be righteous, you can influence the next person. But you got to try. You got to work on it. It says, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, they had trouble in the flesh too, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are, as long as you do well. See, a lot of y'all think that y'all daughters are Sarah and Proverbs 31 women, but you're not that if you in the midst of being a Jezebel, a Eve, a Michal, a Sapphira. If you're in the middle of being those people, you really not a daughter of Sarah. You're not a Proverbs 31 woman. You might have read Proverbs 31, but you ain't applying it. And brothers, you got to read Proverbs 31 because that's the kind of woman you're supposed to be looking for. Don't be mad at the sister because she ain't Proverbs 31. Be mad at yourself because you chose someone who wasn't Proverbs 31. When you were supposed to look at that as your checklist. And are not afraid with any amazement. Likewise, ye husbands. So just like the wives have a role, the husbands do too. Dwell with them according to knowledge. You're supposed to live with your spouse according to the principles that God has taught you. Giving honor unto the wife. You're supposed to honor your wife in a certain way. Not in an idolatrous way. Not in a putting her on a pedestal that she don't belong on. Not on you giving up your preeminence. But you honor her as unto the weaker vessel, being heirs together, understanding that y'all got to work together to the grace of life, that your prayers not be hindered. Oh, but y'all ain't praying, though. So, of course, your prayers ain't hindered because you ain't praying. So, Ephesians 5:25 says this. Husbands, love your wives even as the church also loved, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. Husbands, are you willing to give yourself for your spouse? If you're not willing to give yourself for the woman you got, you probably picked a bad wife. If you picked one that you're not willing to give yourself for, you might have made a mistake. That's the trouble in the flesh, though. You chose someone who was going to get you put to death prematurely, probably. You chose someone that you wasn't willing to really fight for. And now you stuck. It says, he that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of the water by the word. You're supposed to sanctify your wife, cleanse your wife, wash your wife with the word. But y'all ain't studying, though. And that's why we're repeating some of this lesson and going into things that we've already talked about a little bit, because we need to hear it again. Just like you take a bath every day, hopefully some of y'all might be nasty. Just like you take a shower every day, you got to wash yourself with the word every day. Take that bath every day. Cleanse yourself that way every day. That he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle. A lot of y'all full of spots and wrinkles. But are y'all going to work to get them out? Sister, are you going to help your husband iron those wrinkles out? Brother, are you going to help your wife wash away those spots, get rid of those blemishes? Or any such thing that it should be holy and without blemish, so ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. That's that two becoming one. You love your wife as if she was you. But many of us, we love our wife as if she's a separate being, a separate entity. And that's why it's so easy for us to get rid of her, because we can cut that love off and kill that love without killing ourselves. But nah, if you really real, if you seriously in the spirit, you got to understand that when you can't keep your wife, a part of you is going to die. And you got to work to keep her. Now, good thing Paul said, if the unbelieving depart, let them depart. You're not under bondage in such cases. But people who really believe, you can't just walk away from that. You got to understand that a part of you is leaving and is potentially going to end up in adultery if you can't contain yourself and keep yourself from getting in a marriage again. But nourish it and cherish it, even as the Lord cherished the church. So that's today's meditation. We talked about why did I get married. We talked about the trouble in the flesh aspect of this, right? We talked about that today, did we not? I pray that somebody got in there and really heard something and really learned something. Because there is a brother right now that is so upset that he is tied to this woman. There's a brother right now that hopes that he can find him a new wife. There's a sister right now that really ain't eligible for another marriage. She's already been married in the truth of the Lord. And if she get married to another dude and they lay together, she's an adulterer, he's an adulterer, and the ex-husband is an adulterer too. Somebody in that situation. But somebody trying to forget that part, somebody trying to black highlight that in the Bible. Somebody really ain't thinking about that. But I got something for y'all, to brighten up the mood. Pentecost is coming up. We're about to celebrate another glorious holy day. And I want to share with you guys an opportunity to help a church fundraise, True Spirit of Christ Church fundraise, so that they can develop further their ministry and they can develop further their technology to present better. See, some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of you are part of True Spirit of Christ Church. As for others, if you just, you're looking for a place to sow your alms, if you're looking for a way to help benefit the community, to help benefit the kingdom, and do good to the godly, I'm going to share with you an opportunity to do so. Of course, you got midweekmeditations.com /donations if you want to help donate to Midweek Meditations Ministry. which we use all of those proceeds to help continue this ministry, to help others within the ministry that may need financial assistance, and whatnot. But we also have this opportunity, which I'm about to bring it up, in which you can support the technology fund, okay? So give me just a moment. I'm trying to bring it up here. Just a moment. I want to see, though, I need a little feedback. How did y'all enjoy today's lesson? Did anybody feel that they got something out of it? Did anybody feel that, it was beneficial to go back into marriage? Need some feedback on that thing. So if you look in the chat, I'm about to drop the link to help with the fundraiser, which is a silent auction. There's different items you can bid on, and the proceeds from that auction will go to supporting the technology fund of True Spirit of Christ. So I'm going to post that now in the links, in the comment section. And I want you to go in and check that thing out. You can give a donation, or you can go ahead and bid on some of the auction items. It's a silent auction that will then end by the Sabbath, and that gives you a couple days to put your bid in, and the winners of that auction will then receive the items that they bid on and won. Okay, so we got it's needed to remind us that marriage is honorable. Marriage is honorable. But whoremongers and adulterers, God will judge. See, that's the thing, man. If you can abstain from your fleshly desires, you avoid some of the troubles that come within the flesh. All right? But if you can't, marriage is just another way to help you, but it ain't the cure-all. You still got to get your mind right. Some people say it's on point, great class, but all in all, Eleazar. You can leave it up to Eleazar to always say something foolish. He's talking about Adam and Steve. Yep, some of you sisters then ran your man off and now he want a Steve. And some of you brothers then ran your women off. And now they want an Eva. But at the end of the day, if y'all do what you're supposed to do, we will actually be okay and feel good about being with who God wanted us to be with. But as brothers and sisters that got so much wickedness in them, that drive more wickedness out of other people. So, it is what it is. So, I'm going to let y'all go on that. I just posted the link, handbid.app.link/True Spirit. That gives you an opportunity to join in on the silent auction for the Feast of Pentecost. The proceeds go toward benefiting the technology fund. You know that you got midweekmeditations.com/donations to help submit to or promote Midweek Meditations. If anybody shares the video, that's another way to promote. And shout out to those who've been helping me. But I'm going to go, man. It's 7:30. I went longer than usual. Hopefully somebody was appreciative of me going a little bit longer. But here it is. There it is. Trouble in the flesh. May the Most High in Christ bless each and every one of you. And I pray y'all make it into y'all Sabbath day with ease. So all praises to the Most High God. I'm going to let you go now. Shalom.